What if I told you the life you are dreaming about may not begin when the universe gives you what you want? It may begin much earlier, the moment you start thinking differently, the moment you start seeing yourself differently, the moment you stop behaving like the old version of yourself and begin behaving like the person you want to become. This is the idea behind something we hear everywhere today: manifestation. Think about something, you visualize it, you feel it, you believe it, and eventually you expect it to become your reality. But then comes an even more fascinating idea that's called quantum jumping. The idea that somewhere in another possible reality there may be another version of you, a version who is more confident, more successful, more peaceful, more disciplined, more courageous. And according to some manifestation teachings, you can somehow jump toward that version of yourself. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? But here is where we need to be careful, because words like quantum, energy, frequency, and alternate realities are often used in manifestation conversations, even when they don't mean what they mean in actual physics. So today, let's separate the mystery from the science. What does science actually tell us about manifestation? Can our thoughts influence our reality? Can visualization change the brain? Can imagining your future self change the person you become? And is quantum jumping actually supported by quantum physics? Let's explore, because the answer is much more fascinating than simply saying yes or no. Let's start with what is manifestation. Manifestation is generally described as the practice of turning desired outcome into reality through intention, belief, visualization, emotion, and action. You want something, you imagine it, you emotionally connect with it, you believe it is possible, and then you act in ways that move you towards it. But there is an important distinction. Science does not establish that simply thinking about a particular external event causes the universe to rearrange itself and deliver that event to you. There is no established scientific law that says, if I think about money strongly enough, money must appear, or if I visualize a particular person, the universe must bring that person into my life. But that doesn't mean thoughts are powerless. Far from it, your thoughts influence your attention. Your attention influences what you notice. What you notice influences your decisions. Your decisions influence your behavior. Your repeated behavior becomes habit, and your habits can dramatically influence the direction of your life. So perhaps the more interesting question isn't, can my thoughts magically create reality? The better question is, can my thoughts change the way I interact with reality? And the answer to that is absolutely. Your brain doesn't notice everything. Think about the number of things happening around you right now: sounds, people, vehicles, conversations, smells, objects, movement. Your brain cannot consciously process all of it equally. So your brain attention becomes selective. And this is where manifestation can become more interesting from a psychological perspective. Imagine you suddenly decide that you want to buy a particular car. Maybe you have never paid much attention to that model before, but suddenly you see it everywhere. One passes you on the road, another is parked near your house. You notice one in a video, then you see another one in a traffic signal. You maybe start thinking about it. Why am I suddenly seeing this car everywhere? But the world didn't necessarily change. Your attention changed. Your brain began giving greater importance to something that had become relevant to you. This is one reason why having a clear goal can change your experience of everyday life. You begin noticing opportunities you previously ignored, people who can help, information you didn't pay attention to, skills you need to develop, possibilities you never considered, and suddenly your world can feel different. Not necessarily because the reality magically changed, but because you started interacting with it differently. The brain and repetition. Now let's go deeper. Your brain is not a fixed structure, it changes throughout life. This ability is broadly known as neuroplasticity. When you repeatedly think, practice, learn, or behave in a particular way, the brain can adapt. This doesn't mean every thought instantly rewires your brain, but repeated patterns matter. Think about learning to drive. In the beginning, you consciously think about everything: mirror, brake, accelerator, gear, traffic signals. But after enough practice, many actions become much more automatic. The brain has learned the pattern. The same principle applies to many aspects of life. If you repeatedly practice responding calmly, calm responses can become easier. If you repeatedly practice a skill become more familiar. If you repeatedly focus on a particular goal, the goal can become more cognitively accessible. This is where manifestation becomes much more interesting. Maybe visualization isn't magic, maybe visualization can be mental rehearsal, and mental rehearsal can influence preparation and behavior. But there is a problem with positive thinking. Now we need to challenge something. Manifestation culture sometimes tells us, think positively, never think negatively, believe it will happen, feel as though you already have it. And while optimism can be helpful, there is a danger here, because life doesn't work like a vending machine. You don't put in a positive thoughts and automatically receive positive circumstances. You can think positively and still experience failure. You can work hard and still experience setbacks. You can pray sincerely and still encounter uncertainty. And none of that means you fail to manifest correctly. This is extremely important. Not every negative event is caused by negative thinking, and difficult experiences are not proof that someone had the wrong mindset. Reality is much more complicated than that. Your thoughts matter, your actions matter, your circumstances matter, other people's decisions matter, luck matters, society matters, biology matters, and countless factors exist outside your control. So, healthy manifestation should never become self blame disguised as spirituality. Now, let's see what is quantum jumping. Now, we come to a fascinating part. Quantum jumping. In manifestation and New Age circles, quantum jumping is often described as the idea of moving toward an alternative version of yourself, a version who already possesses the quality or circumstances you desire. Maybe there is a version of you who is financially successful, another who is confident, another who has overcome fear, another who lives in a greater peace. The practice often involves visualization. You imagine meeting the version of yourself. You observe how that person thinks, how they behave, what decisions they make, and then you attempt to embody those qualities in your present life. Now, here is the scientific boundary we must draw. Quantum physics does not describe strange and fascinating phenomena. It deals with particles and fields at extremely small scales. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics discuss multiple possible outcomes or even branching realities. But that does not mean science has demonstrated that a human being can consciously jump into another universe simply through visualization. There is currently no established scientific evidence for that claim. So when someone says quantum physics proves manifestation, that statement goes far beyond what the science actually demonstrates. The word quantum should not automatically make a spiritual claim scientific. But here's the interesting part. We don't actually need literal universe jumping for exercise to be successful, because psychology gives us another possibility. Now let's meet your future self. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Not a fantasy version, not a perfect human being, just a better version of you. Imagine that this version has become more disciplined, more confident, more emotionally balanced, more focused, more consistent. And now look at this future version of yourself. Ask, How does this person begin the morning? What do they spend their time doing? What do they no longer waste time on? How do they respond when someone criticizes them? What do they do when they fail? What habits have they developed? What habits have they abandoned? What boundaries have they created? And most importantly, what did they start doing before their life changed? Now imagine that version of you saying, you don't need to become me tomorrow. Just start with one thing today. There is where the exercise becomes powerful, because you are not necessarily communicating with another universe. You are creating a mental model of person you want to become. The model that can influence your present choices. Now let's see the identity shift. There is a fascinating difference between saying I want to exercise and saying I'm becoming someone who takes care of my body. There is a difference between I want to read more and I'm becoming a person who learns every day. There is a difference between I want to be successful and I'm becoming someone who consistently does difficult things. The second version changes the focus. Instead of obsessing over the final outcome, you begin focusing on identity and behavior. And this is where manifestation can become practical. Instead of asking only, what do I want? Ask, what do I need to become? That is much deeper question, because if you want a different life, you often need different habits, different decisions, different standards, different responses, different priorities, and sometimes a different identity. Visualization, does it actually help? That's a big question. Let's see that. Visualization is used by athletes, performers, and others who mentally rehearse actions. But there is an important distinction. There is a difference between imagining the reward and imagining the process. Imagine athletes standing on a podium holding a medal. That feels wonderful. But now imagine the training, the exhaustion, the repetition, the failed attempts, the early mornings, the uncomfortable moments, the discipline. The second form of visualization may be more useful because it connects the desired outcome with behaviors required to reach it. So if you want to manifest a goal, don't only visualize the beautiful ending, visualize the boring middle. Visualize yourself doing the work, because that's where transformation happens. The quantum jump you can actually make. Maybe the most useful interpretation of quantum jumping is not I'm literally entering another universe. Maybe it is I'm making a psychological jump from one version of myself to another. Imagine two versions of you. Version 1 says, I can't do this. Version 2 says, I don't know how yet, but I will learn. Version 1 sees rejection as a proof of failure. Version 2 sees rejection as information. Version 1 waits for motivation. Version 2 builds routines. Version 1 asks, when will my life change? Version 2 asks, what can I change today? That is a quantum size difference in behavior. Even if no literal quantum universe is involved. And sometimes one small change in behavior creates another, then another, then another, until years later you look back and realize you become almost recognizable from the person you once were. Manifestation and action. Let's imagine two people. Both want to become financially successful. Person A sits every morning and visualizes wealth. They imagine the house, the car, the lifestyle, but they don't learn new skills. They don't change their spending. They don't build relationship. They don't create opportunities. Person B, on the other hand, also visualizes success. But after visualization, they study, they learn, they apply, they fail, they try again, they improve, they save, they build, they keep going. Who is more likely to change their circumstances? The answer is obvious, so perhaps the formula isn't thought, universe, result. The more realistic model is thought, attention, decision, action, repetition, result. And that is much more powerful because it gives you agency. Where does spirituality fit? Now, if you are a spiritual person, you may look at all of this differently. Many spiritual traditions have spoken for centuries about intention, about discipline, about devotion, about prayer, about visualization, about self control, about the importance of what we repeatedly think and do. In Hindu traditions, the concept of sankalpa is often associated with a sincere intention or resolve. And there is another beautiful idea. What you repeatedly practice, you gradually become. Prayer can create a pause, meditation can create awareness, chanting can create repetition, ritual can create structure, discipline can create consistency, and consistency can transform a life. Science and spirituality don't have to be forced into being the same thing. Science asks, what evidence do we have? Spirituality often asks, what does this experience mean to me? Those are different questions, and we can respect both without pretending that scientific evidence exists where it doesn't. The dark side of manifestation. But there is one more lesson we need to talk about. Manifestation should never become an excuse to blame yourself for everything. If someone loses a job, we shouldn't tell them you attracted it. If someone becomes ill, you shouldn't tell them you manifested your illness. If someone experiences heartbreak, we shouldn't tell them you had the wrong vibration. That isn't compassion, and it doesn't mean a good science as well. Life contains randomness, life contains uncertainty, life contains suffering. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can often influence how we respond, and that distinction is incredibly powerful. You may not control the entire reality around you, but you can influence the reality you create through your choices. Now, try this tonight. So, here's a simple exercise. Tonight, take 5 minutes, put your phone away, sit quietly, close your eyes. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Ask yourself 5 questions. Number 1, what kind of person have I become? Number 2, what habits does this person practice every day? Number 3, what did this person finally stop doing? Number 4, what difficult thing did this person learn to face? And finally, number 5, what is the one thing that future version of me wants the present day of me to start doing tomorrow? Don't choose 10 things, choose one, because manifestation without action remains imagination, and action without direction can become exhaustion. You need both vision and action. The real quantum jump. Maybe the greatest quantum jump isn't traveling to another universe. Maybe it's waking up one morning and deciding that your past no longer gets completely determine your future. Maybe it's going from I have always been like this to I can learn from this is impossible to let me try, from I need motivation to I will build discipline, from someone needs to save me to I will take responsibility for what is within my control. That is a jump, not necessarily through space, but through identity, through behavior, through consciousness, through choice, and perhaps through time. It can completely change the trajectory of your life. So, can manifestation change reality? Maybe not in the magical way social media sometimes promises. There is no scientific guarantee that simply thinking about something will cause the universe to deliver it. The quantum physics does not currently prove that we can consciously jump between alternate realities, but don't let that make you think your mind is powerless. Because your mind influences your attention influences your choice, your choices influence your actions become habits, and your habits help shape the person you become. So perhaps the most powerful form of manifestation is not I will think about the life I want until the universe gives it to me. Perhaps it is I will become the person who can build the life I want. Don't just visualize this destination. Visualize the discipline. Don't just imagine success, imagine the work. Don't just ask, what do I want to manifest? Ask, who do I need to become? And if you believe in God, pray. If you become that person, believe in science. If you believe in science, learn. If you believe in manifestation, set your intention, and whatever you believe, take action, because maybe you don't need to jump into another universe. Maybe the life you are searching for begins when you finally take one small step. In this is where manifestation begins.